Hey everyone, it's Angela Baker here from Erie, Pennsylvania. I wanted to talk to you a little bit today and just tell you a little bit about my story. Everybody has a story, and I like to listen to other people's stories. It's interesting. I like to get to know other people and to really, see what's behind who you think they are, or, everybody kind of, when you first meet someone, you have your own, I guess, preconceived ideas of maybe who this person might be. Have you ever, come across somebody like, say you come across someone that's beautiful, and they're dressed really nice and, they're really outgoing and friendly and they have really nice clothes, nice car, and you think, wow, they got it all together, or they seem really happy in their marriage or their family. Sometimes you think, oh boy, they just have it all, but they've had an easy life. But you just never know. You never know what goes on behind closed doors. And sometimes people like that I've come across in life, they've had the hardest lives. You just never know. And they've just come out of it sparkling because they've learned a lot from it and they've grown from it and persevered through it. And anyhow, so I'm going to just tell you a little bit about my story in my life. I've grown up right outside of Erie, PA my whole life. I lived in New York a little bit during my childhood, grew up, and my parents were divorced when I was 4, and my dad was an alcoholic and not very pleasant when he drank, very violent. When he was sober, he was a good guy. He was pretty moral, he didn't cheat on my mom. He was hard worker, he went to work every day. He had a good job. He always went to work and he always provided for us kids. That was one really good thing that he did, and I love him for that. But he just struggled with alcoholism, which so many people do, and it's really sad because it's just, people just, I don't understand it. I've never been one, thank God, and I've never really struggled with that addiction. But anyhow, so my parents were divorced when I was about 4, and my mom, she was tough. My mom was about 4'11", but you didn't mess with my mother. She was short, but man, she was feisty, and you just didn't mess with her. She was very strict, and I'm thankful that she was, because I am who I am today because of her and because of her strictness. You just didn't backtalk her. You just didn't mess with my mom. And even though I was taller than her, I still knew you didn't mess with my mother. She'll just smack you upside the head. But anyhow, my mom was born with scoliosis. She always said, oh, I was born too soon. She was born with curvature of the spine. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but basically nowadays, if you get that, and usually it's typical and it's majority of young girls get it, not so much in boys, but they get it usually in their preteens. Their spine starts to curve, and nowadays they can put a rod on your spine and stop it from growing, and then you're good to go. But unfortunately, my mom was born back in the 1940s, and they didn't have that then. And she was actually she started to develop her scoliosis when she was about 3 years old, which is pretty rare. I mean, really rare, because usually it doesn't usually start to develop, like I said, till like in your preteens. But anyhow, she started getting it, when she was 3. Her back just started to curve and curve and curve, and when the doctors told her mom that, we can't really do the surgery until she's about 12. We have to let her grow some more. Well, by the time she was 12 and she had the surgery, she just had like a really bad curvature. Like her back was just all, bent. But I'll give my mom a lot of credit, because she never ever wanted pity for it. She never, once you got to know her, within 10 minutes, you didn't even see her curvature anymore. You just didn't, because she was just that type of person. She was awesome. Really outgoing. She had more friends than you could shake a stick at. I miss her a lot. But anyhow, excuse me, getting all teared up. But anyhow, she worked her butt off. She raised 3 kids on her own. She waitressed for 18 years in a local diner, and it was awesome. We were all like a family. I worked there in my teenage years, waitressing myself, and we just it was a fun place to work. But that aside, we were poor growing up. You know, waitressing, you don't make a lot of money, especially in a local diner. It's not like she was working in some, high class resort place where she was making big tips. She was making, $1 to $3 tips every day, per person. And anyhow, but she was faithful in her job and she worked really hard and she made a living and she, took care of us kids the best that she could. But we just didn't have much growing up. I mean, we loved each other, we were close, but monetary wise, we just didn't have anything. And I didn't like that. My friends growing up, especially like I'd say at least 4 or 5 of my close friends, they, had their parents were still together. Almost all of them that I can remember had really nice houses. I would go over there and one of my friends in particular had a horse, a pony, and we'd go out and ride the horse, and it was cool. My other friend, she just, they had a beautiful home, fireplace. Just her mom was a stay-at-home mom, and it was like something that, as a kid I dreamed of because I was like, wow, her mom's like there doting on her all the time, and my mom was like either working or she was just too tired to give a crap, when she got home, man, especially with her disability somewhat, she got tired real easy. And so she was usually either working or sleeping, or when she was up, she, spent a lot of time with us. She was a great mom, but anyhow, I never really had my friends over to my place. I just didn't because I didn't want them to be there. It wasn't a real nice house. It was old, falling apart. We couldn't afford to fix it up. And all my friends had really nice houses, and their mom and dads were together. They had a good, stable home, and something that I always envied. But I still loved them nonetheless. So growing up, I just had a lot of dreams and goals and desires that I wanted as I grew up and for my kids that I didn't have. And so that being said, that's kind of geared me towards internet marketing and network marketing lifestyle because face it, you work for anyone else, you just aren't going to get very far, unless you are super, super smart and you can go to college and whip out a degree because you don't really have to study. But unfortunately, I'm not one of them people. I really have to study to get good grades. And anyhow, backtrack a little bit. As I grew up, like I said, we didn't really have much. My mom just kept getting sicker and sicker. She smoked a lot, that kind of stress reliever, and she ended up getting emphysema, and she ended up dying when I was 22. My dad died about a year before my mom died. He had ended up getting pancreatic cancer, and he died. He was given 6 months, and he died 6 months right after he was diagnosed. But so within a very short period of time, I lost my parents. I was very young, and unfortunately, my kids never got to know their grandparents because they died, before she even knew them. But anyhow, I got married at a very young age. I was just out of high school. I was 19, married a contractor, and thought I was in love. And I believe I was ready to get married. I've always been kind of reserved and wanted to settle down and, uh, have a family. And so anyhow, I'm going to stop right here because my daughter's calling me. I hear mom, mom, mom in the other room. And I'm going to continue this in another video. So stay tuned for part 2 of my story. And I hope you guys have a great night. And I will talk to you soon.